job, right? Your day-to-day job.
Yeah.
I said, do you ever get tired of doing it? And you were like, obviously, it's a job. Like, I love to do it, but there's days where I don't feel like working. The same goes for us as athletes. There's days where we wake up and we don't really feel like playing basketball or hockey or football or things of that nature, and you have to find those little things that motivate you to get you up at 5 or 6 a.m. You got to find those little things that motivate you when you're in Oklahoma City on a back-to-back and you're tired, you haven't seen your kids, you haven't seen your dog, you haven't seen your wife, and I think that's what the great players do. The good players do it as well, but the great players, they figure out those little things that kind of drive them, and they hold on to it, and then when it's time for them to kind of show you the receipts on the largest stage, that's what they do. And I've done the same thing. I've gone and read tweets from when I was drafted, when people put trash can emojis in my mentions saying that I was trash, or they said that he can't do this, he can't do that, he's not going to be able to score at this level, he's not going to be able to run a team, he's a two guard, he's too short, he can't dribble, he can't pass. And I'm like, well, I can always dribble. Might not be able to pass as well as you'd like me to, but I can do that as well.
And fascinating. That is the best response. That is actually the best explanation for this phenomenon that I've heard. PK, jump in on all of this. This modern day phenomenon of athletes being the petty king, PK, and obviously as your initials as well. What do you think of it?
Well, listen, it's great for TV. It's great for us. I mean, you know, to put the attention on people working on ESPN, it makes us love what we do, and this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to talk about sports, talk about the things happening, talk about controversy in sports. But with Steph Curry, a superstar, he's one of the world's best athletes, to be talking about what's being said on TV, using that stuff for motivation, I think it's great for the sport. And Steph Curry's a fun-loving guy. I think there's a fun-loving part of this as well, where he's having fun. And, you know, obviously, you need to have motivation, man. You want to win 4 championships. It just doesn't happen easily. I think he used it for motivation, and obviously they came out on top. I don't think they're done either. Yeah. So I think we got to keep giving them stuff to play for him, man, because I want to see him. I want to see him catch Kobe. I'd love to see him catch Kobe.
Okay, we got a long way to go before we get there. Actually, he's only got 1 championship to go.
Cooking, Steph.
Before he gets there. But Big Perk, let me come to you on that, because, I mean, he sort of called you out that night. We talked about it. You were the one, you and Dominique were holding up the thing. But you have to have encountered him over the course of the season, right? Did he bring that up to you when you saw him? Is that something that you think really aided him, or was that a good-natured moment?
I just think that was a good-natured moment. And look, Greeny, CJ actually done it to me when I first started working at ESPN. I tweeted out and I said I had the Oklahoma City Thunder, Paul George and Russell Westbrook beating CJ and Dame when they matched up in the series when Dame hit that 3 in PG face to send them home. And then CJ retweeted and said, come again, or something to that nature. Look, when you're an all-time great, I play with a lot of all-time greats, right? When you're an all-time great, you're a franchise guy, and you have accomplished a lot individually, and you won championships, you have to find that motivation at times to keep going. And whatever floats your boat, whatever's gonna put that fire back in you. And look, they may say they're not watching, but CJ told on them. CJ said guys are checking their phones at halftime, checking social media, and he's absolutely right. So look, if that's what they got to do, Green, is come on here and bring on receipts for us to see that version of Steph Curry that we saw in the finals, averaging almost 35 a night on that Boston Celtic team, then damn it, I'm here for it.
Timmy Legs, let me go back to you. You played a generation before this stuff, meaning when you were playing, and you also played with some of the all-time greats, etc., there was no social media. There were far fewer shows like this one and First Take and others that players might respond to. So how did guys do that then? Where did that sort of thing come from in the 90s?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot different because you weren't going to get it from social media, and that meant your boys weren't going to hear it on social media either, because most of the time these guys hear it third person. And they're not watching these shows directly, but somebody in their circle is watching it. So back then it was a little bit different. You had to get it from print media, or the occasional talking head on TV would get you, but for the most part, you weren't exposed to it to the extent that you are now. And I just look at it like this, and I said this earlier. You want to call him Petty King, I'll call him Petty White, Petty Crocker, Richard Petty. I even thought of another one. I'll go back to the Flintstones. I'll call him Petty Rubble. All right, whatever you want to call him that, okay? But here's the thing. The great ones of all time, this is what they do to not only get motivation, it's to maintain the fuel, to maintain the motivation. You remember The Last Dance? Michael Jordan had this obsession with Dan Marley. because he was getting credit as a great defender, so he couldn't wait to play against Dan Marley. Like, these guys always find it from somewhere. It's just more prevalent now because there are so many more platforms and different directions from which you can get exposed to it. It's a lot easier now to find that little nugget you want to hold on to.
Dominique, jump in.
Yeah, I think that earlier CJ was talking about how this is what the greats use when they don't feel like getting up or they don't feel like playing anymore. When I didn't feel like playing anymore, I stopped playing. So I'm not great, and I don't understand what Steph is made of. I don't understand what guys like that. So when you ask us to come on here and speak from the athlete's perspective, I can generally understand where the athletes are coming from. But people like this, because Steph Curry 3 championships in, all that he's ever done, I could care less if I was him about what I was saying about him. But apparently it motivated him enough. But my view, honestly, is it's just good-natured trash talk. When I'm playing video games with my friends, I'm clowning them. It's not what I'm using to motivate me to go back and practice my FIFA skill moves. But still, after I get that win, I'm cooking them on text for the rest of the week. And that's just what you do. It's in good nature and it's good fun.